When the government did the assault on the 19th and they decided that they were going to use tanks, this is actually a huge point of frustration for me, because I've heard people say, and especially when I watch documentaries, I've heard multiple FBI agents say, "Oh, why didn't they come out? Why didn't they come out?" And it's really hard to come out when literally the place is collapsing around you. They rammed the back gymnasium in the back. The entire back of the gym came down. Okay. They went through and they actually punched the front side of the house with 3 different holes. So, I've got photos of them, but the 2 holes on either side basically took out the staircases. So anyone who was on the second floor or above was basically trapped. Misty Ferguson, in her testimony, ran to the staircase. It's completely gone. This poor girl had to run back into the fire to jump out of a window. She was burned so badly she had to have all of her fingers amputated. Clive Doyle told me he saw her in the hospital. They had her wrapped up like a mummy. But this shows you a couple things. When you hear people say, "Oh, well, they burned themselves to death." No, there were people trying to escape. Misty Ferguson was trying to escape. People were trying to come out. They were literally trapped. There were many, many people that were trapped in there. People got trapped in the concrete room. The concrete room was in the center of the building on the front. So a bunch of the people coalesced around it. And like I had mentioned before, there's basically 2 waves of bodies. That first wave that went in there, when the tank goes center mass into the building, it hit the concrete structure and the roof collapsed. And that crushed a bunch of the people in there. And so it's a huge point of frustration when they say, "Oh, why didn't they come out? Why didn't they come out?" It's really hard to come out when you've been crushed to death. It's really hard to come out when the very first thing that they did on the 19th was come in and crush the bus and use that as the main injection point for the first round of CS gas.
And the bus was a buried bus.
The buried bus. Exactly. Yeah, the buried bus. And here's the thing. Now you're getting me on fire. Here's the thing. I've talked with the kids. I've talked with Kevin Jones. I've talked with Scott Mabb. I've talked with Heather Jones. These kids were conditioned. Hey, if there's high winds, if something goes down with the house, we all run to the bus. We all run to the bus. Like, they were literally conditioned that there's a storm shelter. So the very first thing that you're going to do is come in and crush the bus and gas it. And that's the main escape route that every single child has been conditioned to run to. And they knew about the bus. This is the thing that's frustrating. I've read documents where they knew about the bus and they literally said they didn't want people just running through there. So that was their main thing, was we're going to cut it off. So you're going to cut off the main exit and gas the place. That makes no sense. Now, I don't think, when I say this, I want to be really clear. I don't think there was someone from the government sitting in a dark room, twisting his mustache, going, how can I guilt Davidians? What I've been able to gather from all the stuff that I've been able to put together, I think there was a tremendous amount of incompetence. I think the left hand was not talking to the right hand. And I think there was a subset in there that definitely wanted some payback for what happened to the 4 agents that happened on the 28th. Not that they were out to kill Davidians, but they sure didn't care if they died. They absolutely did not care if they got killed. And where it's frustrating is, like I say, at the end of the day, here's the thing. This is really, really easy. And I'll sum it up to this one talking point. One of 2 things happened on the 19th. Either the government intentionally or through negligence started a fire that killed 25 children. Or the government was dealing with an apocalyptic group of people that wasn't afraid to die and still thought it was a good idea to initiate an assault with gas and tanks, knowing that there were 25 children there. You can say whatever you want about David Koresh. You'll never hear me defend David. I've heard people say, "Oh, he should have sent those kids out," or those parents should have sent those kids out. Probably, yeah, they probably should have, but they didn't. And the government, again, knew that they were there, and knowing that you have a wooden structure, do you think it's a good idea to drive a tank through this wooden structure knowing that you have 25 children? And this is the thing that blows me away. I'll use a modern day analogy. If we know that we have Osama bin Laden in a house surrounded by 25 innocent children, should we blow up the house? We know it's Osama bin Laden. We have him surrounded. He's not going anywhere. We have him surrounded. But we know around Osama is 25 innocent children. Do we blow up the house? And this is Osama bin Laden. When I tell people that, when I tell the general public, I think that's when I see the light go on, and they're like, oh yeah. This is David Koresh. Here's a good apples to apples modern day analogy with what's going on with the Catholic Church in Philadelphia. And this is what I always tell people. You know, I use these two analogies with what's going on in the Catholic Church in Philly, right? The Catholic Church just got accused of, they say, oh, those priests are touching those kids. Those priests are touching those kids. Nobody would say, hey, if we got to run over the diocese and kill the congregation, so be it. We need to get that priest. He's touching those kids. And that's the main thing that they leveled on David Koresh. They say, oh, well, he's touching those kids. Okay, you don't kill the congregation to get to him. The other thing that I like to use, and then I remind people, is his name was the only name on the warrant. You know, the way Mount Carmel is set up, it's kind of like a miniature apartment complex. You know, David...
So now we're talking about the ATF raid and the warrant they had to conduct the raid.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. And interestingly enough, and I can dig it out. Tibbs has been telling me to dig this out. I found 9 days before the raid, 2 ATF agents and David Koresh himself, just the 3 of them, went about a mile up the road to shoot guns. I've got the actual document. And Koresh, that's how they actually established one of the charges against him, because one of the charges was mixing and matching receivers. And if you read the report, the after action report, it actually says on there, you know, Koresh erroneously was talking to us saying that you can mix and match receivers and that it was legal. So you got 2 agents that were with him by themselves out there shooting. If this wasn't a publicity stunt, why didn't they just take him right then and there?